So first I want to talk about some of the laptops that I've owned before. My first laptop was actually the Dell Inspiron 7500, which was my first laptop. It cost like 2,000 bucks back then, way back in 2003 when I got it. And it was pretty powerful for the time. It had a dedicated graphics card. I think it was the ATI Radeon 7500. A lot of laptops can be configured with dedicated graphics cards back then. And it had like a Sound Blaster card, which is pretty standard for the time. It's not really common now. And even though we take built-in Wi-Fi these days for granted, but back then laptops didn't have it built in. This laptop actually came with a lot of slots and ports that we don't see on laptops these days, like the PC MCIA card slot, also known as a PC card slot. We don't see these on laptops these days, but it's for expansion, and express cards, which were similar as well. S-video ports, which we don't see anymore, it's kind of like a legacy video out port. A modem port, which was for dial-up connection, which you obviously don't see anymore. Yeah, this laptop didn't have built-in Wi-Fi, so I had to actually add Wi-Fi with PC card. How times have changed, right? Now everything has built-in Wi-Fi. And it had a built-in Pentium 4 processor, which was really inefficient and overheated it a lot. But anyways, this was a good laptop for the time, my first one for high school. And then my first laptop for university was the Gateway CX2724, which was a convertible tablet. And this was, yes, convertible tablets existed back then, way before Windows 8 machines came out. These days you see a lot of convertible Ultrabooks and stuff, but back then they had tablets and laptops that were convertible and used a digitizer, and they were running on Windows XP Tablet Edition, I believe. Wasn't really common back then, but yes, they did existed, and it was okay for the time. Had a Core Duo, original Core Duo, the first dual-core processor, integrated graphics card, and it was like 7 pounds, and I had to carry it to all my classes and stuff. So, I mean, Ultrabooks didn't really exist back then, so yeah, that was that one. And then the next one was Asus EEPC. If you remember EEPCs, they were the laptops that started the netbook craze, when netbooks were all the rage back then. These days, netbooks have been replaced by tablets and Ultrabooks, but back then, people had netbooks, and this one only had 16 gigabytes of storage. Of course, a lot of netbooks had really low storage back then, underpowered Atom processors and stuff. And I didn't really own this one for a long time. The laptop I actually used most in university was the Dell Latitude E4200, which was a business ultra portable notebook, which is kind of it is basically an Ultrabook before Ultrabooks actually came out in 2011. This was in 2008. It was really light, about 2.6 pounds, at a Core 2 Duo ultra low voltage CPU. It's a business laptop, so that means I can connect it with a port replicator, which is really useful, so I can connect it to an external. And I used it as a desktop at times. It wasn't that powerful at the time, but it was like an Ultrabook before Ultrabooks. It was really light, much lighter than my Gateway, of course, and it suits my needs. I like 12-inch laptops because they're really small and portable. And I actually had 2 other laptops last year that I didn't show or review, but one of them was the Asus Taichi 21. This was a very interesting laptop because it had 2 screens, one on the inside, and if you close the laptop, the lid actually becomes a touch screen, which is really cool. So this was the only laptop I saw that had 2 screens, so it was really interesting. I didn't keep this laptop though because 2 things. One thing is the touch screen, which is absolutely necessary for Windows 8, as you know. It was very glitchy, and it didn't really do the things that I wanted to do. Wasn't very responsive, even though it had a nice 1080p Full HD display. And the other reason was the battery life. The battery life wasn't as good as other Ultrabooks. Other Ultrabooks, you know, has much better battery life than the Asus. This Taichi only came with like 3 or 4 hours of battery life, which was not up to par. So I didn't keep it, but it was a very cool concept that I hope that other laptops can have. The other laptop I had was the MacBook Retina 13-inch. It's a MacBook, so it was really expensive, $2,200 when it came out at the time. This was the first really ultra HD resolution laptop. As you know, MacBooks were the first one that came out with this concept. So it was really expensive at the time, and it was also, the screen was of course really good. And the Mac OS X is well known for being very fluid and easy to use. MacBooks are very good for development, but For other things, I think I actually didn't keep this laptop because I ended up with an iPad Air instead, and for most of the things, except for development, the iPad Air was actually more convenient. It was lighter, and it actually had LTE on it, which means I could use it anywhere. So for those reasons, I got rid of the MacBook as well, and just used my other computers for development instead. But I mean, it was a really good laptop, and MacBooks are probably the priciest laptops out there, but also they're very premium, well-built laptops as well, and a lot of people like them. But anyways, those are my previous laptops, and I'm going to show you my current laptops right now.
Hey guys, this is the Lenovo X240 ThinkPad. This is one of the lighter and smaller notebooks among Lenovo's ThinkPad notebooks. And yeah, this is the fourth notebook I've got within the past 3 years. And I'm going to compare it to my HP later on, but I'm going to show you just what this notebook is about. So you have the ThinkPad logo and Lenovo logo up here. Down at the bottom you have an extended battery. This battery, this notebook actually comes with two batteries. This is the rear battery right here. They also have a front battery, which means that you can actually take out this battery and replace it with another battery while the notebook is still running. It'll run on the front battery while it's doing that, which is a feature that Lenovo calls Power Bridge. This basically allows you to have unlimited battery life as long as you're carrying extra battery packs, which is awesome. But yeah, standard, if you have the 6 cell battery along with the front battery, it'll last at least 12 hours, which is a pretty good running time for an Ultrabook, and a docking connector at the bottom here. And if you look at the screen here, this is a 12-inch screen, 12.5-inch screen. You can get it up to full HD, although I only configured it with 720p because the 1080p option costs a lot and only comes with a touchscreen, which I didn't want. I also didn't want Windows 8 because I really dislike Windows 8. And it has a webcam up here, a very good keyboard. This ThinkPad keyboards are usually held in high esteem, high regard, and they have this touch point kind of tracking nub here, which is very common among ThinkPads. It's a business feature, I know, but it's very useful if you're the type that likes to use that. And this whole touchpad here is clickable, which is a little bit different than the previous touchpads, which means you have to get used to it. But this is almost the same as the Apple MacBook, that the whole trackpad is clickable. It's a little bit different, but yeah, I don't mind it. I guess it's okay. It's not as good as I'd rather actually use the track point. I think it's a lot more accurate. But yeah, that's one of the new features. The power button at the side. You have a fingerprint reader here, which is a pretty standard feature among business notebooks, but not that common among consumer notebooks. But it's nice to have that because now fingerprint readers, I think, are going to be more consumer focused now. Since you have all these websites that like to keep track of your passwords and stuff, I would rather just use the fingerprint reader to log in. Then if you look at the side here, we have the standard AC adapter, the fan. We have a VGA port here, full-size VGA port, which is relatively rare among those notebooks. Then we have a USB 3.0 mini display port, smart card reader up here, another business feature. If you look at the side here, we have a headphone jack, another USB 3.0, SD card reader, a SIM card slot, kind of rare among consumer notebooks, but this is a business notebook, so I opted for a 4G SIM card slot. Because I didn't like to always tether my phone to my laptops, so I like to have the built-in 4G/LTE slot. It's good. So the SIM card slot and a full Ethernet jack, which is awesome. I don't want to use adapters or anything, and lock slot. That's it. And yeah, this is the ThinkPad. It weighs about 3.2 pounds, and it's not the thinnest notebook, but not the thickest either. I like it because it's very portable, has a lot of ports, and contains a lot of business features to it, which I like. And it's got that legendary ThinkPad durability. You got this magnesium or carbon fiber lid here. Lenovo actually also makes a X1 carbon ThinkPad, which is a little bit more expensive than this one, but it is a lot thinner. So that's another option if you guys want the cooler looking Ultrabooks. This is not very cool looking, but it's very functional. And yeah, that's about it. I like the battery life on this too. You can get a lot of battery life. One thing I wish they had is HDMI slot. It doesn't have HDMI, and I have to get an adapter for it, but I guess they couldn't fit this on, being that they needed to put the VGA connector and mini DisplayPort connector on it. But yeah, that's it. If you want to compare it to my HP notebook, this is my HP Envy 14 Beats edition, which I got back in 2011. This is a pretty hefty notebook, weighs about 5 pounds, a little bit more than 5 pounds. Got a 14-inch screen. This is what the keyboard looks like. Backlit keyboard. It's just like the ThinkPad. Touchpad is not that great. It's definitely not as good as a MacBook, for example, or some other notebooks. And the screen is just regular 720p screen. But I like this notebook too because it has a lot of connectivity options too. It's got the SD card slot here, optical drive. A lot of notebooks these days do not come with optical drives anymore. 2 USB 2.0 ports here, 2 headphone ports, and this one is actually microphone in as well. If you look at the side here, USB 3.0 port, HDMI, mini display port, lock, Ethernet port, adapter, fan. And yeah, I like to have a good amount of connectivity in my notebooks. I don't like to buy Ultrabooks if they only come with like a few connectivity options. The MacBook Air is a good example. It's a good notebook, it's very light, but I just prefer having more connectivity options, so I just like getting, that's why I got the ThinkPad. It's light and it's small and has a lot of connectivity, and that makes it very useful for portability reasons. And yeah, that's it. The HP Envy, which I bought in 2011, this comes with a Sandy Bridge processor, Core i7. I could also configure it with 6 gigs of RAM and a hybrid hard disk drive. And whereas the ThinkPad is all solid state, 256 gigs of solid state, and a Core i7 ultra low voltage Haswell processor. One more thing I would like to mention is that the HP Envy came with a dedicated graphics card. I configured it with an AMD Radeon 6630 with 1 gig of graphics RAM, and that's a feature I wish more notebooks had these days. Because these days most consumer notebooks come with integrated graphics cards, which are good for battery life, but not so good for gaming or graphics performance. So yeah, if you do any heavy-duty video editing, graphics editing, if you play any heavy-duty games, Battlefield, Call of Duty, what have you, dedicated graphics card is always better. At least when I bought this notebook, they have a lot of hybrid graphics systems where they can switch between a dedicated graphics card and an integrated graphics card to save battery life. I know NVIDIA does this, AMD also does this, and they should definitely have it as an option on more notebooks. And I've yet to see a lot of manufacturers have it. You have to go to certain configuration options, I think, but only a minority of notebooks these days can be configured with dedicated graphics cards. And yeah, it's a feature I think at least should be an option on more notebooks.